Welcome to 500 Doors, your real estate podcast, speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, and management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many, that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. All right. We're back. We're back. Super excited. Rounding on. I think that when you hear this, this will be like episode 55, 54, 55, and something along those lines. And I'm excited today because we're going to be diving deep with a Midwest gal. I'm from Kansas originally, and a lot of my guests happen to be from one of the coasts. And it's always nice to get, kind of that heartbeat of America. What's going on, and what are they hearing? Because these are the ripple effects that we see in real estate. Orly Duday has more than 20 years of experience in real estate. She is an architect, rehabber, investor, realtor, and mortgage loan officer. She lives in St. Louis, Missouri with her husband and son, and she wrote a book coming out in the spring. So we're going to find out more about this. Your Home, Your Money. I love that. Helping current and aspiring homeowners leverage the financial potential of home ownership based on their needs and desires. This is going to be a great conversation because we've had so much crazy over the last few years. We just need a few sane voices to give us the truth. Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
Excellent. And thank you very much, Kim, for inviting me.
I'm excited. Like I said, I get this, I love getting that Midwest feel, and knowing, what's going on, because we know that there's ripple effects all across the United States. And what's interesting is the Midwest tends to get hit last, yet it has kind of the most stable markets. It balances out and finds even keel quite quickly. So before we dive into the market itself or what's going on out there, or what your book is about, I want to find out a little bit more about who is Orly.
Thank you. So I'm a mother, a wife, a contractor, an architect, a real estate investor, mortgage loan officer, and a realtor. And I love volunteering in my community. And a lot of the pieces during the years that I thought has nothing to do with each other, at the end of the day, they have everything to do with each other. And when I focus on the client, what he needs, what he wants, what he thinks, it's very helpful to be able to see that from all the different angles.
So so I've got to ask, because everybody's going to ask, where's your accent from? It's so cool.
I
It's
was born in Argentina, but raised in Israel. I didn't speak Spanish until the age of
Oh,
20, and then I left to Mexico to study architecture and art history, and then I worked in Israel and back in the US. So it's a mixture.
interesting. No, I have a friend from Argentina, and just, Canada. I don't think I'm from Kansas. I don't think anybody in Canada anymore is from Canada. I think we've all come here. So okay, so that's interesting. So then if you studied architecture overseas, you probably have some unique perspectives on development and from inception to activation of how to actually create space, because I know things are done very different overseas than they are done in North America. We're still very kind of that old hammer nail stick frame on site, and there's a lot of new kind of processes that we're seeing in other countries that we're not quite yet embracing here. I want to go a little bit deeper into what you do, because you've got a very wide. So let's let's you and I what okay, let's you and I talk about an avatar. Let's focus this conversation down so we can dive deeply into your genius. Who would you like to address in this podcast? What is your passion that's speaking to you today?
A current homeowner or aspiring homeowner. And specifically, one of the things that fascinate me that I realized many people are concerned or afraid when they think about the process of mortgage or rehabbing their home or looking for a home. And when they decide to take the step, they want to do the smart move and consult a professional, but they don't stop to brainstorm themselves about their proper goal. For example, very common that you'll be told go to the mortgage loan on a mortgage loan officer, and he'll tell you how much you can qualify for. And for me, that's mistake number one, because how much you can qualify for doesn't mean that that's the amount of money you should borrow. And for example, the moment primary resident can be 1 to 4 units, you can go to a duplex for a quadruplex and you can qualify for more. But everything narrows down to, first of all, stop and think, what are your goals? Do you want to be free and clear? Do you want to pay the minimum per month? You want to really gain equity in your home. And many of the clients, when I ask them that, they stare at me in the beginning and they're not sure, what do I mean? Why do I ask that? They just want to know that they can purchase their dream home. So we need to take a few steps back. And if you set up your goals, then you can realize how through home ownership you can achieve that.
That brings me to a thought. So revisiting the dream, right? We have lived the last almost 20 years, or at least 15 years, in these honestly free money, which we saw what it did to Japan. Japan has never recovered, has yet to recover from infamously low free money interest rates. So now the United States, in Canada, we're in this kind of rock and roll of trying to bring those interest rates back up. So there's some accountability within our borrowing power. Do you think that's going to impact kind of what the dream is? We have been sold that everybody should have 2 and 3 personal homes, or I should have 2,000 square feet for me and my dog, or, do you think that this is going to make people sit back? And how do they go through when they have to maybe release what they thought was the dream to bring it back into what their plan and their goals are?
So that's an excellent question. And many times when I challenge the people and I ask them, for example, they try to maximize the potential, have their dream home. And I said, do you think you'll be financially stressed if the property taxes increase? And many times I get the answer of yes. And I said, guess what? They always do. So you don't want that dream of the home to be a nightmare. When you feel very comfortable that you own a home, but really 95%, 90% of that is you borrow the money from the bank. So going back realistically, when the first step of asking about what are your goals, it's a very uncomfortable reaction. What really do you mean? What can't I achieve that? And when you realize that you can achieve everything, but there might be a different path, it might be gradual. As you said, you don't need, that huge size for one person at that stage of life. Very often, when I have young couple immediately describing from renting to going to their dream home, and I said, again, going back to the multifamily, having all the advantages here in the US of the primary residence up to 4 units, and having someone help you pay the mortgage. And yes, after a year, 2, 3, you can move on. You can sell it or you can keep it. And they don't see themselves as real estate investor. But when I tell them, you know what, you spend the money regardless in mortgage or in rent, make it work for you, and there are that very uncomfortable situation in the beginning, but then many times it's converted to excitement that when you realize that you have options, but you need to think, you need to prioritize and really draw the path that might be good for you. Also, many times that people think about their forever home, when I tell them, but your goals at your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s won't be the same. Your needs won't be the same, and when you're attached emotionally, And yes, often you receive your decisions, emotionally and justify logically. There is a burden to that. We need to try to make it work.
Um, for those that maybe that did get a little in over their head, right? And we're starting to see markets settling out. We know that I think Houston is down something like, 12, 13, 14%. We're seeing markets settle out. So, and these people have gone in and purchased with an interest rate that's no longer available at a 0% down, and they over leveraged because they got caught up into the that that excitement of the market, that almost it's a little bit of a herd mentality. Everybody else is doing it. I must do it. I What do you think around, because a lot of them won't be able to walk away from these houses. They just won't. They won't be able to sell these houses. They won't be able to get out from underneath them. What do you think of doing the creative spaces? So, multiple doors, common, like, redesigning their space. And I was dying to ask you this because with your architecture background, your mortgage expertise, and your real estate expertise, what are some do's and don'ts that people can navigate and ride out what we're in for probably the next few years?
The first thing I'll do is check the zoning. What are your limitations? What are you allowed? Now, many times, even though upfront they tell you one thing, you can ask for a variance. What is the process of a variance? Can you change it? Absolutely, if you have the space, if it's to add an addition or change inside and you can rent part of it, it's a win-win. But just make sure to do everything legally. First of all, you don't want to invest money that even in the future or the years to come, you want to sell it and you cannot. You don't want any liability. You want everything to be done by professional because it's safety. You don't want improvisation in the electrical or all the other, utilities. So definitely do not have shortcuts. And there is a way to do that. Many times, if the zoning don't allow that, there are certain situations that can be revised, but it's through the municipality. So check your options first. Think out of the box. Nothing is obvious really when you rethink about that. Now, yes, sometimes you can do an Airbnb or part of the house, so you don't need that addition, but you need to do it right. You know, to think how can you create certain privacy and then rent it if you don't someone in your house and just rent a bedroom.
And that's the big one. A lot of people go, "What about privacy and such?" And rezoning. We are seeing garden suites as that are coming on huge across Canada. Um, what are you seeing in that option or opportunity? I think if some people call them garden suites, granny suites, whatever. But so when I'm talking about this, folks, I'm talking about it's a, it's basically a small, like, mobile home that you would plunk in your backyard. What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that as becoming an option for a lot of people for additional revenue on their property?
In these areas, just in a very specific areas, because you need to get permits.
Yep.
And not, it's really pending city by city. I cannot generalize, not in Missouri, not in St. Louis, because even in St. Louis, it's really township by township who
Yep.
will allow that and who will not. And because it's the liability that you're renting that out, it need to be legal. Do
Oh,
not
absolutely.
improvise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do not go out back, folks, and build a shed kit from Home Depot. That is not what we're talking about here. This is where, in one of the things that you mentioned was volunteering. This is where, um, if your back is against the wall, don't turtle, folks. Don't hide from it. Step into it and find solutions. And sometimes you have to get involved. Sometimes
And
you have to step in and be part of, the chamber, be part of the council, step in and say, we need this, and then find solutions, right? Everybody has an issue around parking. Find a solution,
so
right?
actually, my volunteering is another area with foster kid children and
Oh,
more with
wow.
teens. But my passion about that, even going back to the real estate and the finances, how can you prepare the young adult that think that it's too far from them and it's not realistic?
Yeah.
And many times they come from very financial challenging situations, just to make sure you give them guidance and help and vision of other things, that everything is possible, but you need to be aware of that.
So when we're looking at real estate agents and we're all out there now trying to find clients because they're not just falling off trees like they were 8 months ago. Um, what are some resources that real estate agents can lean into that you've seen out there that can help educate people who could qualify for a property, but just don't know how to find the information? What are some resources that real estate agents really should be sharing?
So one of the things that I heard recently about, don't be a secret agent, as a realtor. And the
Yeah.
moment you begin a topic, people want to know, people want to hear about that. And then it can go further about if it's relevant for that person, a family member. I was speaking with a person and he said, oh, maybe in a year I want to sell my house. And I said, why? I want to buy another one. And we realized that he doesn't need to sell his house when
Yeah.
we run the numbers, but definitely can move forward and look for the other house. That means his question should be changed from when do I need to put my home on the market to do I want to be a landlord? And because he got that honest review that it wasn't to push just, I want to list your home, then he referred his friends, his family. Just give everything you can and speak with people all the time. Don't be that secret agent.
Absolutely. And search for the solutions. Where are some of the places that you go when you're looking for answers? What are some of the general websites or resources or organizations? Obviously, you've got the Missouri Real Estate Board, but what are some other places that you're finding creative solutions and interesting answers for real estate?
So it's case by case scenario of what is the property. For example, I analyzed recently a huge bed and breakfast, and suddenly it required to take a different angle. So when I went to the city of St. Louis, I was impressed how resourceful they were and how they navigate to another, sources of information. Because as a municipality, everyone want to flourish, and if you have a property that it's vacant or is problematic, you're helping them if you come with a solution. And in the city itself, I was really impressed. And actually, for example, they share with me that if I want a variance in zoning, they can get it in 6 days. And what do you mean 6 days? Usually it's months.
Wow.
It's not six
Yes.
days. No, that's how it takes 6 days. But you need this and this and this. And I was totally, blown away. That I said, what do you mean again 6 days? Yes, in St. Louis City. So you can
That's
get.
awesome. You know what? We have to give a huge shout out for that because I know that I was talking to a gentleman who's in San Francisco and they call it bureaucracy hell. And so for somebody in St. Louis to say, "Oh, we can do this in 6 days. You just have to have all your ducks in order." That's awesome. Woohoo! A city that's doing it right. Awesome. Um, let's talk about community because the reality is houses are in communities. People live in communities. We build business, we build our lives around communities. It's not just a free for all, and it's not just a happenstance of a collection of houses. It literally is a community. What are some ways that real estate agents can lean in and help build better communities?
One of the things that I will approach is the local organizations. And many times, yes, it's based on age, based on the interest, if you have senior groups, and if you have in colleges, for towards the young adult community. Each one has different needs, even though I'm in the same geographical area. And I will think about tailoring made. If a group of retires or senior group, they can be interested in different things. They need to downsize, they need to cash out. Others, young adults, are looking for something else. So really analyze how your community is built. Really try to focus on the different target groups and provide solutions that things that might be interesting for each one of them. And it's very personal, each one of the groups.
So serving people, absolutely, and that's important. I know that for myself, I did nearly 20 years in a what we would call, it was a generational community. So it's specifically designed that you can live and work with it and within walking distance. And it was a master planned community, and we had everything from babies to senior facilities and care facilities. So knowing who your audience is, knowing how you serve them. One of the things that I always loved doing was our pumpkin giveaway every year, that we give pumpkins away for 2 hours in front of the local grocery store in exchange for food donations for the food bank. And that was a community give back. But what it did is it brought people out and it got people connected into the community. And we, the real estate agents, if you don't have a community association, if you only have a homeowners association or a chamber or whatever, that's an opportunity for you to take a batch of, blocks within your service area and, create something that's a signature event that people go, "Oh, I love this. I love this when you do this every year." Maybe it's a picnic in the park that you get local busters, but do something for your community, especially in the world we're in right now. It's gonna go a long ways. It's gonna go a long ways. Let's talk about books now. You have a book. Is it out as of yet, or when is it coming?
By the end of May, in two
End of
months.
May. Awesome. Walk us through the name of your book and where we're gonna be able to find it, and then tell us what the readers can expect from your book.
It's called Your Home, Your Money: How to Leverage the Financial Potential of Home Ownership. It's geared towards current homeowners or aspiring homeowners. You will be able to get it in Amazon on my website, that it's askorly.com, ASKORLI.com. And my passion actually came to the point when I work as a mortgage loan officer. I spoke with hundreds of people, and when I realized their perception, not just speaking with them as a realtor or as an architect, but really it was the last piece of the puzzle of that big picture. And when I realized that so many people, they want to take the next step and they're going to the mortgage loan officer to tell them how much they can qualify for, I was just wanted to scream, hey, wait, stop. The fact that how much you can qualify, it's not what financially convenience for you. And second, when you understand how the qualification for a mortgage are calculated, there are many more options out there. As we spoke before, if as a young couple you want to go to a duplex and you already have a tenant, you might qualify for a larger amount of a purchase, but you know that you have some of the income. As a young couple, you know that you have another source of income. You're not obligated to stay in that setup for the years to come if you choose the right mortgage. So if you choose the right mortgage, you can decide after a year, after 2 years, okay, I'm moving on, and I can keep that. If it's saving for the future, or what do you want to get? So when we do that full stop and first of all think, of course, I want a roof over my head. And financially, most of us live on a budget, so I will spend regardless for rent or for a mortgage. So what do I want? I want to get from that beyond the excitement that American dream, I have a home, beyond that. Let's leave the emotional aside, even though it's hard. And let's try not to just justify logically whatever we feel like, because we'll pay the consequences of an amazing decision or a more challenging financial decision. So, with the book, is first of all to expose the potential as a homeowner. You have certain tax benefits, and actually knowing your exit strategy before you even begin looking for the property, that can bring you to a totally another level. And many of my friends and clients, when I tell them that, I said, what I mean to think now about the exit strategy, I want to buy it. No, if you want that to comply a certain purpose, you look for one property. Then it can be another one. And also, as a realtor, he can be a huge resource, but he can be even more helpful when you share with your realtor what are your goals, because he can bring you totally other perspective. So with the book, it's really to expose the potential and of what you want, how can you achieve it. Is it a destination or is it a journey? When it's journey, that means yes, you'll have a few milestones and you can reach everything, but not just borrowing 90% of the value of your home. That's not necessarily the best solution. It can be
Yep.
great if it works for you, but we need to think if it works for you.
Is there in the book, is there action steps? Is there anything kind of that, like, we can sit down and exercises or anything like that?
Absolutely. I divided that to 5 steps. The first one is to understand the accumulation of wealth, how it works. And yes, it's like the last step, but I begin that in the beginning for you to have a vision, to have the picture, to understand your path. And then I just narrow it down to the understanding the finances, understanding the home purchase, and understanding the potential. What's the big difference between when I say primary resident and investment? Because as investors, we know a lot, we know what to do. There's a lot of books. And many times as a homeowners, we don't think about ourselves as investors, but also there are other tax benefits that we should know about that, because that might lead us to plan differently. So it's really to know, and at the end of every step, there is a worksheets that you know exactly what to ask yourself. And it's fine if in the beginning of the book, it's more contradicting because you're giving different answers, what you can, what you should, what you would like. But towards the last step, the fifth step, it's really craving your path based on all what you learn. And yes, it's something that you'll need to revise from time to time according to your milestones. What you decide now, it's not written in stone. It can be revised after a few years, after 5 years, after 10 years. It's changing, but absolutely, it's a very item and action plan you have.
In the market we're in right now, I just wanted to say that this is actually the best time to get into real estate, be it on the service side or the purchase side, because I believe that with the crazy that we've had over the last few years, we're moving into a more stable time. People may think it's a more difficult time, but sometimes difficulty brings stability. So it's an excellent time. And your book will be available where?
In Amazon and in my website.
Awesome.
The
But that's askorly.com.
Correct.
Awesome. So if you're listening, it's ask Orly is ORLI.com, and we will have that information in the show notes. So at this point in time, I'd love for you to share all your socials. Where can people find you, follow, and engage with you?
You can find it basically through the website and engaging to the Facebook and to the YouTube. And I also want to, very important for me to share based on what you said. I absolutely agree that it's a good time.
Yeah.
And my thoughts that when something is not clear and the fear comes up, then you're paralyzed. But let the numbers speak. That even, for example, now with the interest rate, so you think it's scary, but when you put it on paper, you say, okay, if, for example, I should have be able to get a better terms in that and that number, you can quantify that in an amount of money. And then it's not scary anymore because you understand exactly what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and it's historically, 6.5%, right in that range, is completely doable. My first property that I bought in '99 was a 7.25. And we felt that that was pretty good because back in the '80s, they had 20% interest rates, when it's really scary.
Yep.
That's when it's really scary. But right now, we're actually in a you're in it the money is very fair borrowing power. Maybe just borrow less and be qualified as and focused as to where you're going with it. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, and that's what you should really apply to real estate. This is not a gorge fest or a, run for the I'm going to go from, beef jerky to filet mignon. No, let's take this in steps. And I absolutely agree with you, Orly, on everything you said. Can you share a quote with us, something that inspires you?
Yep. Do or do not, there is no try. And I think it's a state of mind. When you say,
Yeah.
I'll try, you lost. You want to do something, you're focused and you're all in. There's no try.
Do or do not. There is no try. That I 100% agree. And there are days that are hard, but nobody climbs the top of a mountain without a coach. Nobody goes to the Olympics without a coach. Nobody gets to Carnegie Hall without huge amounts of instruction. Lean into your professionals, lean into your leaders, your mentors. If you're a real estate professional, you know, go that next level, find somebody who can help you. If you're an aspiring homeowner, find the right people that can lead you and guide you. If you already have a home and you're afraid of where things are at, don't sit in fear, don't sit in the dark. Turn on the light, look up, and find somebody who can help guide you. That's what this is really about. It's knowing the right questions to ask the right people. And Orly's book will be able to help you on that. I appreciate your time today, Orly. I think that this is such valuable information. And you know what? We all need resources and people to connect with.
Thank you
So
very much.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, folks, that's it for today. So do or do not, there is no try. So get out there and just do it. Just do it. I think somebody else coined that term, do it, but you can do it. I promise you can. Until next time, you know what? Take care of yourself, be good to yourself, and lean into your community. Go and be the change you want to see. Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors Your Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share because we all know sharing is caring.